All right.
Are we on that?
Yeah, the YouTube is just loading, but it's recording, so we're good to go.
Okay. All right, this is the May 18th, 2022 meeting of the Southborough Zoning Board of Appeals. Before we get started, I'll just read a brief statement. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on June 16th, 2021, this meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. And it may be watched or participated in by logging in remotely with the meeting link at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. Okay, so agenda item 1 is approval of meeting minutes dated March 16th, 2022. So did everybody, now at this meeting, what do we have on the agenda? Approval of meeting minutes, clerical changes and applications, and a resident request about if he needs a formal plot plan. So again, no hearings. Master Plan Committee updates from Debbie, a comment on the article in the warrant for town meeting, and next meeting. So there's very little here. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes?
Yeah, I reviewed them. I thought they were fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone, Paul is absent, so actually it makes it appropriate to go ahead to do this. Anybody have any changes to be made to the minutes?
Nope.
Nope.
Move to approve the minutes.
So I'll take a motion then to approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
So moved. Okay. All right. We have a motion to approve the minutes. Seconded. Actually, do we have a second? You moved it, right, Craig?
Second.
Yeah, Jamie with a second. Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. We'll just respond with aye. All in favor. Debbie?
Demiria, aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
Doris?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And Williams, aye as well. Okay, very good. So second agenda item is review of special permit and variance application clerical changes. Jamie, I'm sorry, Kelly, do you want to just sort of show us what you got there?
Yes. Oh, you know what? I don't have it up to show you my screen. I wasn't thinking of that. Let me. Let me pull it up.
We starting with the special permit or the variance? I'm sorry.
Let's start with the variance.
Okay. I have it up, but not on the same machine.
Oh, you know what? I can't. I wasn't thinking this. I can't get onto the.
I have it up to cut. Am I?
Okay, because I can't get it up on my I'm not connected to the server or something. I don't know.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen. Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Let me change that. I don't know how to do that. Oh, here we go. Okay. I just changed it, so you should.
Let me try. Okay. Let me know if that worked.
Yes.
Like it is.
Okay.
So basically what I did, after the discussion at the last meeting, I went through and made the changes to the number of applications that are required. That one can come to us, one goes to the clerk. We don't need to have 10 copies of everything. Since the last meeting, there is a new piece. If you look at instructions 3, the abutters list, we just got this, I believe it was last week, an email from the assessor's office that there's now just like a flat fee for the abutters list, and then they can be paid for on the town website. And I actually had someone that's submitted an application, but there's a few things missing. So I'm waiting for the completed application, but he did go on and pay on the Southborough Town website for the list of abutters. And then the assessor's office was able to just send that directly to me, which was really easy. So that's something that's, makes my life easier. And I think it's a lot easier for the, the person applying, that they don't have to go down to the town hall. So I did make that change. I changed our, where is it? The procedure when it comes to the newspaper, the hearings that go into the newspaper. So part number 8. So I will prepare the hearing notice and then send it to the newspaper, but it's the applicant that needs to call and pay for the ad over the phone, which is a little bit, you gotta really be on top of them about it. But we did hear last week, and I still have to look into it a little bit more, from a different newspaper that we're potentially considering using for the hearing notices. And their system is a little bit different. So that's something that could change in the future. But as for now, that was another big change, because it used to be that the ZBA assistant just did that all. And now the applicant has to do a little bit more work.
Right. Okay.
And when it comes to the second page, same thing. I just updated anything that used to say 10 copies were needed. I updated it to say 2. There were not really any more changes when it came to that. Everything else stayed the same. And then as far as the special permit application.
Kelly, can I just point out, you have one typo on there?
Oh yeah, where?
Yeah, before you go on, I think it's only on the variance.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Did
Okay.
you guys catch it? Yeah, just at the very first sentence, oops, where did it go? It says the applicant must prove 1 of 4. Oh, it's the next page.
Oh, okay.
Must prove, at the very top line,
Here.
it should be 1. Yeah,
To the rule.
1 of 4.
Oh, on, I see. It should say,
Yeah.
yep. All right, I'll make that change.
I have a question on this one, though. I don't know if when we talked about it, because we had that, one of the residents who, with a question last meeting about whether or not he or she could submit a mortgage plot plan versus a certified plot plan. Do we tell them that information in these submission checklists? Do we tell them they need to have one or the other kinds of plot plans?
That's something that when they inquire about, either they submit the application or they meet with Lori or I about it, that's something that we relay the information to them. It does specify that they should have any drawings or plans.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that specific case from the last time, I did relay that information, because I think Mike was the one that said it was really easy to get that mortgage plot plan. And so I did relay that info, but then I haven't heard anything from that resident since.
Okay,
Yeah, it's something that, you know, when I get an inquiry, that's typically when I explain that to them.
Mhm.
Um,
okay.
Yeah,
That's all I had then, just that typo. Thanks.
thank you.
All right, special permit.
Yeah, and so the special permit's gonna be the same thing. Anything that used to say 10 is gonna now say 2. I added the abutters change.
Oh, here, this one.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's changed. Same thing as far as like the hearing notices, those are pretty much identical. And then we don't have the, you know, one of 4 items like we do with the variance application, but the second page just is kind of a checklist for the resident or whoever the applicant to know the different things that they need as they're going through the process. Because it is a little bit tricky. Like I just recently received an application, but a lot of it was missing. And so that made it, you know, it wasn't a formal submission because there was so much missing. So I, you know, got back to them and said, you know, here's all the different checkpoints. So I do think that that submission checklist is helpful.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's all I have for those applications.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with those 2 revised instructions?
Nope.
They look pretty good to me as well. Okay,
I don't have any questions.
Need a motion to approve them with the variance one being corrected of the typo.
yeah. I think it probably helps just to be on record here, yeah.
I move that we approve the updates to the variance and special permit applications with the typo on page 2 of the variance application to be corrected.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, great. Okay, there's a motion to approve with a second. All in favor of approving the latest changes to the special permit and variance application with the one typo noted, respond with aye. Debbie, Greg,
Aye.
Doris,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and Williams, aye. Okay, very good. Item 3 is discussion of possibility of executive session with town council Jake Telemann.
I do believe, oh, Paul's in the waiting room. Hold on.
Okay,
He just got here. I believe Doris, you wanted to add that to the agenda?
I did, Kelly.
Yeah.
hi Paul.
I hear background reverb.
I think you've got some feedback.
A lot of feedback, Paul.
You got your 2 devices on?
Better when he's muted anyway. Okay. Well, let's proceed now. Doris, maybe you can talk a little bit about that item 3.
Yeah, so just a little bit about it. I thought that it may make sense to be briefed in executive session on Park Central and that other lawsuit that was filed back, I think, last fall. That is why.
Okay, so you're you're asking if we have an executive session with town council, just
Yeah,
to be
to be
briefed.
more clear, sure, Dick, that one, how do other people feel about it? And two, does it make sense? And those are the reasons why.
Okay.
Kind of get up to date. It doesn't seem like one has taken place in some time.
A meeting with town council or executive session?
I
Yeah,
would think that would be with, I'm gonna get his last name, Jay.
Jay?
Kellerman.
Yeah.
Talon, yeah.
so if the litigation isn't pending anymore, I don't think it has to be executive session. So
We're not really clear on that. I read what Paul read was, and that's just through a blog, that the appeal seems like the appeal never got acted on, but I agree with Paul that we may or may not know that. I think the deadline passed, but that doesn't mean that it's for sure.
Well, I'm interested. Doris,
Okay.
that suggestion.
Well,
Yeah.
I would suggest that's something we can consult with Jay about, to say, is this something we should do in open session or executive session? If he feels it's fine to be an open session, we can certainly do that. That's what you're suggesting, Craig?
yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be an executive session if the matters are no longer pending.
Yeah.
We should also get his nod of which executive session minutes we can release.
Correct, right, because that, we did have an unofficial request on that regarding executive sessions that we've had over, geez, I mean, I think they go back to 2016. So, yeah, I think, Kelly, I think probably the action here is just a follow-up with Jay, which, I mean, I could certainly do that, or you could just follow up with them directly just to say, I mean, would you prefer? I can do it if you prefer. It's easy.
Actually, I'm pretty sure Mark Purple wants all requests of the town
Through him?
attorney to go through him.
Yeah.
So it'd be
Okay.
a request to Mark to set this up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I think that would make sense.
So maybe David, if you want to reach out to Mark and then just CC me on it. And then
Yeah.
if Jay needs I'm sure he's going to need the email that I received. I can forward, I think I forwarded it to you anyway, so.
You did. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I can take that action, and I will copy you, Kelly. So.
I misspoke. I said Paul has suggested the thing that the appeal was not filed by the developer, but it was Mike who said it. I'm staring
It
at
was
Paul, but I
me,
know it was
yeah.
Mike. I know it was
Yeah,
Mike.
the timeline has lapsed.
It did.
I think it actually lapsed more than a week ago. But sometimes you never know if something got filed to extend. If they file just a very simple type of answer that we might not have heard of. But I'm not surprised that the appeal wasn't put forward. It honestly would probably be simpler for.
Be simpler for them to start over again.
Exactly. That whole thing's a disaster. So from I think all perspectives. So it's just a situation.
Yeah.
The bigger question I have is, where are we 6 years later on minimum housing, which is, from what I understand, the exact same place. So,
Right. We haven't really
Well,
moved.
actually, probably worse because we've
Probably
added other
worse.
market rate houses.
That's
So our
exactly
percentage
right.
goes down.
That's exactly it. So it's just,
Um,
that would be the definition of Southborough insanity. Right?
Yeah, procedurally, just along those lines and how we're gonna move forward on other affordable housing. I don't know where to place this. I guess you'd place it with planning board. But can I bring something that's off agenda into discussion? Let me start with that. It's not terribly off agenda. It coincides with what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what they said at that Jay's meeting. I think sort of things that are part of the process are okay. If it's something that would affect somebody in town, you'd want it on the agenda, but why don't you go ahead and tell us what it is you want to bring up?
Yeah, I don't know where to place it, but possibly maybe in the next meeting, if it should be in our meeting at all. is looking at some zoning code regarding accessory dwelling units.
And in what regard?
Allowing them?
No, just open to discussion. I don't want to go that far into detail, just open to discussion. We do allow them.
Okay.
We do
So
allow
is your
them.
question like the parameters of whether they're allowed? Is your question,
Yeah.
should we expand
Trying
how
to
they're allowed or
understand-
where they're
trying to
allowed? or-
understand.
Oh, two people are talking at once. Mike first.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the question. Like what aspect of AUDs?
Ownership aspect of AUDs, ownership. So I think we currently allow them, like you can put a is that a mother-in-law in a shed, but the person has to be the owner of the property, that type of thing. You couldn't put correct me if I'm wrong, you couldn't put a extra housing unit on your property if you weren't living on the property. I believe that's correct.
So you're saying if someone has like a rental house, they can't put an ADU on it and then have two rentals on the same lot. They'd have to be a resident of.
I believe so. It's that topic. It's that
So-
taking a look at that aspect of the code.
Okay, so the question is more, are you questioning how do we
Change
adapt
it.
the zoning
Yeah,
code?
exactly.
Or are you just questioning how it works, period?
No, I think I understand how it works. I'm questioning whether it's where the forum is for the best today's definition of an ADU, looking at the definition and the aspect of that part of the code.
And possibly adapt. them.
If it's serving the community, if it's
Right.
serving now, that's what I'm talking about, not changing it necessarily, but discussing it.
So I think that would be the planning board because they
Yeah,
would initiate.
that's my take, is that really is a planning board issue. Whereas the zoning board of appeals is, interpretive of the code when it's applied.
Mhm.
Yeah, but the planning board would be the ones to enact the code or modify the code. Or at least to initiate the process, unless it's a citizen initiated process.
Right. You beat me to it. Like I
Doris,
said, we
it would
wanted
be
to make a
interesting.
warrant.
It would be interesting to know, Doris, if you're thinking is because of COVID and the sort of these different living arrangements that people have had during COVID, that, we might look, just to look at that section of the zoning code to see if it still
Yeah.
fits with Southborough.
Right, so it's still a fit for Southborough.
Yeah.
And the restrictions that surround it. And there was just one particular case we voted on, was it a few months ago? Where there was a discussion, very long discussion between whether it was an accessory dwelling unit or just an allowable addition to the house.
Right.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
that
so
was-
it's kind of attacking that from a planning perspective, so to better serve, to less contentious decisions.
Right.
Mhm,
Debbie, I
that's
think
where I'm going with
Debbie's
it.
first action as a planning board member.
Okay,
There you go. See?
Debbie
You're
DeMarco,
dialing in.
You're
That's what
welcome.
we're talking
rainmaker
about.
of planning board agenda items.
We gave Debbie some homework.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Doesn't come for free.
Mhm.
All right.
So how does
Is
that
it-
happen? I don't mean to be a bugaboo.
No, not at
Okay,
all.
so-
It's
So that
it's
answers my
actually-
question. I understand it, but
the
where does
constant
it go from
change-
here?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think accessory use dwellings is kind of a soft underbelly. I think that, again, our society, our community faces real stresses from lack of affordable housing. And it is just something that I think Southborough is very much a relic and a dinosaur on housing stock. So
Well, we may have
I'm
a
always
situation-
looking for ways to create affordable living places for people.
So-
I don't know how anyone does it. To me,
So-
We may
so-
have this situation, Mike, where this is existing and there's a lot of good that could come out of it. It's probably existing already. Nobody wants people walking into their home, but to see if that area of the code is serving us best. Yeah, there's a shortage, a severe shortage.
So, I mean, is the action here to make a sort of an inquiry to the planning board to say, review of that area of the code or interpretation of it? Because I think it's a fair point. I mean, the board that owns the zoning code is clearly the planning board, so it seems like the appropriate forum. I mean, it can be a request that comes out of the ZBA.
Yeah, I mean, my thinking about it is, it would be kind of nice to take a look at that section of the zoning code and maybe come up, maybe the zoning board can come up with like a proposal of maybe how you think, like, let's say you wanted to change it, take a look at it. Is it adequate? Is there something that can be modified, and then, bring it to the planning board or something like that for joint
Yeah.
discussion or something like that. But I think a proposal, because I
Yeah.
think actually zoning board knows this section better
Yeah.
than planning board.
Well, and I think maybe Doris's point is good that, based on what we went through, what in there is weak or unclear that leads to the contention points,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we've had a couple of these over the last few years, whether they were connected by some long above ground, below ground, and I think we've all thought soft is the right word, Mike. We've all thought like that maybe the wording could be like a little bit more ideal. I don't think it's like drastic. I'm not sure, but maybe there's some better way. That might just be, buttoning things up a little bit. That might not help you, Doris, with like, does that help people, with more affordable housing in Southborough? But it should be
I
looked at,
think,
yeah.
I think the buttoning could possibly lead to that benefit. I don't know if I could say for
Yeah.
sure it would lead to that benefit. It could be the buttoning or it could be the widening, and we're just trying to look at maybe altering it. It could be a widening of some of the definitions and buttoning of others, one or two others.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone on the board is certainly, free to take a look at that and say, based on how our meeting went, I mean, it kind of makes me want to go back into the minutes I took for that meeting to look at what's in the code and say, well, these are the things that made it so unclear and led to it being the kind of meeting that it was. That to me seems entirely appropriate. And you just raise that to the planning board to say, this is why, this is how we end up in this situation, because you can't interpret this. But
Yeah.
it probably is, good for somebody or us as a board to say, these are the specifics that we think are soft.
Could we even, I don't think I was on that meeting, but it's probably recorded. I mean, potentially people could even watch it.
Well,
We're all
Yeah.
discussing the same meeting that happened, right?
I don't know if we are, because we had one that
Greg.
was the one over on presidential that wasn't an accessory dwelling unit. It was just
In addition.
an addition,
to pull the
which some
permit.
people wanted to call an accessory building, but not necessarily an accessory dwelling unit. And then there was the one on Clifford where they were renovating the apartment downstairs for the person's mother-in-law.
Right. Mhm.
And the issue was septic capacity. They were abandoning a bedroom upstairs to make a bedroom downstairs.
Yeah.
So neither of those were really additional dwelling unit per se, but they were adjacent and soft.
Well, just when you brought up the contentious one, Doris, that's the one that comes to mind, is the sports barn on presidential.
Yeah, that's not a dwelling unit though. So this wouldn't
No.
really be what we're trying to address or helpful for
Yeah.
solving affordable housing. So,
That was attached.
yeah, it was.
Mhm.
So why don't we put a discussion of it on the agenda for next month?
Okay.
And in the meantime, we can all kind of take a look at that code and share thoughts and see if there's anything we want to reach out to the planning board on.
Okay, that's fair. Just put it on the agenda.
Yep.
Kelly, are there any hearings coming up for the next meeting?
Not for the next meeting, because they haven't met they didn't meet the deadline.
Right.
There's one that hopefully by July, we might have something. But yeah, nothing's really going on.
Okay. More non-excitement, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes boring's good.
I'm starting to think no one likes us anymore.
I am
Haven't liked
quite
us in
all
a
right
while,
with
Paul.
this. Yeah, no.
Disappointed, but
With
You
those
scared 'em all
40
away.
Bs coming down the line, I'll take all the quiet we can get.
It's true. I will.
When are
I'm
those
not gonna-
coming along? Did anybody hear when those
Did
went?
not hear a timing.
Nope, I haven't heard any time. I just heard that they're out there.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sorry, the timing on what? You're talking about the affordable
The
housing?
40 Bs, yeah. You know, why do anything in, you know, why plan and deal with that up front? We'll just wait for someone to hit it over the head with us.
Yep.
Yep.
I have a question. I'm assuming this might need to happen at the next meeting, but I'm assuming Doris is gonna move up to be a member and we'll look for another alternate.
Actually, the appointment of who becomes the member is the board of the
The board
select.
of selectmen,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah. So they could lift one of you, either of you.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, Doris has my vote. I don't get a vote.
I think
I don't
in the
get a
past-
vote though.
I think in the past, like Paul, you're like the historian now, and Craig, but I think in the past, the zoning board has, just reached out to the alternates to see if either or one wants to move up to be a full member, and then wrote a letter to the select board so that they, would know what the recommendation would be from the board or something. Is that right?
Typically in the past, yeah, the alternates we had would see if they wanted to become full-time. And then usually it would be in order of, there's always two alternates. So whoever was the first alternate would get the first nod typically. And then we would, whatever we'd endorse or recommend someone. There has actually been one or two incidents when the second alternate was deemed to be a better choice than the first alternate and was leapfrogged that way. And I saw that happen like once or twice, but
Right,
I was never an alternate.
yes. He is the leapfrog. So,
But
Took the side door onto the zoning board.
yeah. I don't know.
I'm missing that piece of the history, Greg, the side door.
That again, I mean, that can be a reach out to Mark Purple again regarding the board of selectmen. So,
Yep.
and then
Okay.
We should then look for another alternate then.
right, exactly. Yep.
Last couple of years, we weren't the most popular job in town, but since we haven't had an agenda item in 6 months, who knows? Maybe some.
Exactly.
We've lulled them to sleep, a false sense of security. It's like, no, they like us again.
And I actually, before we're done, I have to apologize. I failed to forward the notice on the volunteer appreciation breakfast and just noticed that it was today. So
Ah,
I went.
my apologies. I cost
I
you a
was
free
there.
breakfast.
I saw you, Jamie, and Doris.
I saw you as I was leaving.
I
Yeah.
know, I saw
yeah.
you cross
Okay.
the.
All right.
I know,
Somebody
I-
took advantage of the breakfast.
Someone was
Good.
grabbing me
Well,
to volunteer and pull weeds. I thought that was it.
I didn't even know it was on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta get that My Southborough. Was that there's this blog out there?
No, I think also it came through my town email.
Oh, did it?
The
Yeah.
town,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it came through there too. Yes.
Okay.
I've never
So it
checked
wasn't
my-
all on me to
I've
just
never checked my
forward it on.
town email once.
Yeah, I
I don't
know.
have any either.
I just have the app on my, I have like another email
But
app.
the
on my
food is
phone.
great. The food is great.
Oh,
And,
I'm
I'm
sorry, I
gonna-
missed it.
All right, gang.
All right.
Paul.
I think
Oh,
that's.
And I just want to
think
say
we're good
I
here.
Oh,
goodbye to everybody, and I want to
Oh.
let you know that this is my last meeting. If I'm not sure, Paul, you joined afterwards, but I just want to say thank you before we close the meeting. It's, I think, 5 years that I've been on the board, and I just want to say that, I've learned from each and every one of you, and some of the matters have been pretty difficult, but you guys always seem to make it fun. So I'll be in the audience watching you, and I'll take the things that I've learned and bring them over to the planning board. But I just wanted to say thank you, because I really have learned, and I think everybody, I honestly feel that everybody has Southborough's best interest in mind. Everybody loves Southborough. And it's really been an honor to serve with you on the board. So
Same
good
here,
luck to
Debbie.
everybody.
Great.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Best of
Debbie,
luck
thank
to
you
you.
so
and
much.
the zoning board.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Is it my time now?
It's you,
time,
you're
Paul.
on,
Yeah,
man.
good job.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second, all right. Motion to adjourn with the second. All in favor, say aye. Debbie,
aye,
Aye.
Craig,
aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Doris,
Hi.
Jamie,
Aye.
Mike.
Aye and goodbye.
Aye and goodbye. Aye for
Aye.
Williams. Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Okay.
Good night,
evening.
everyone.
You
Hey,
guys.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.